What's going on, you guys? It is your boy Matt Talks Films, and I'm back with another video. And honestly, I'm excited because the two films I'm talking about in this video are some of my favorite films so far this year. They're both in my top 10 now for this year, which is crazy because I just did a list. But these two films are excellent and exciting and engaging and fascinating and honestly anomalies in the world of film that we're living in right now. But with that being said, I'm excited to talk about these two films. August 21st, the weekend that this was, is now my favorite weekend of the year so far when it pertains to new releases. Now, don't get me wrong, I saw a really bad new release this weekend, which was Insidious 6, which I won't be talking about in this video, but in case you're wondering, it's really bad. But the two other new releases I saw this weekend are terrific. And those two films are, in case you didn't notice by the thumbnail, in case you haven't guessed what those two films are, here's what they are. The first one I'm going to be reviewing in this video is the newest biopic of 2026, the newest Matt Johnson film in 2026. I am talking about and reviewing Tony, the Anthony Bourdain biopic. And I was excited for this film because it's a Matt Johnson film. And I like Dominic Sessa. And honestly, biopics are really bad. But I'm going to say this right now in this intro. This is the second best biopic in the past 10 plus years. It's Oppenheimer and Tony for me. And honestly, in case you're wondering, I think it's the best Matt Johnson film to release this year. And I love Nirvana the band, the show, the movie. Now, the second film I'm going to be talking about and reviewing in this video is a film from a young and exciting filmmaker. And I'm talking about and reviewing Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. And I was super excited for this film because Jane Schoenbrunn is a fascinating filmmaker who is engaging and incredibly thought-provoking. And this film is exactly that. I wasn't the biggest fan of Let the TV Glow. I just wasn't. I thought it was very awe-inspiring visually, and I thought the story was interesting, but it didn't fully land the plane. This is a much better film than Let the TV Glow, and I'm excited to talk about it. So, with that being said, if you want to hear my thoughts about Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, and if you want to hear me talk about Tony, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe, just so I know that you are here, and follow me everywhere at Matt Talks Films on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for more short-form content like this. Now, let's talk about some of my favorite movies of the year. First, obviously, we're going to talk about Tony, the newest Matt Johnson film. And my, oh my. First and foremost, I've seen this movie twice now. The first time I saw it, I wasn't intending to go see it because I didn't know it was going to be shown, because I was going to see a Regal Monday Mystery Movie Night. And in case you didn't know, a lot of those movies being shown on those nights are awful. So I wasn't expecting Tony, the newest Matt Johnson film, to be showing. And God, I was so happy because I was anticipating this film and I wanted to see a Matt Johnson film in theaters since I couldn't see Nirvana the band, the show, the movie in theaters. And I will tell you this, the historic promotion of Regal Monday Mystery Movie Night, there's been a lot of bad films. There's been a few good ones, but there hasn't been a great film. And this was the first great film I've ever seen during Regal Monday Mystery Movie Night. Man, I was excited walking out of the theater after the first time I saw it. And then this weekend, I saw it again. So I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about Tony, but definitively, it's one of the best biopics I've seen personally. Now, biopics as a subgenre in film are just bad. They are just bad. Now listen, as someone that actually kind of liked Michael, even though I realize it's a pretty much prototypical biopic, it's pretty much a highlight reel, and it paints Michael Jackson as this perfect human being. It pulls all the punches. I still liked it because I like Michael Jackson. I like Michael Jackson music. I can admit that. It's a fine movie. I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen like everyone else seemingly does, but nonetheless, it's a fine movie. It's a really good highlight reel with a pretty good Jafar Jackson performance, but nonetheless, Michael is a 3 out of 5. Maybe even probably lower if I was being real about what that movie is. This right here, Tony, is a 5 out of 5. And it's such an anomaly comparing to other biopics. A lot of biopics in this day and era of film, and honestly throughout film history, pulls a lot of punches, plays the safe route. The humans that they portray in a lot of biopics are painted as perfect and unrelatable, bigger than life figures. This film is not that. It's a completely relatable film, and it's a coming of age story that is just a joy to watch. This film also pulls no punches. If you are going into this film thinking you are going to see an Anthony Bourdain film, you really aren't. Yes, the person in this film is Anthony Bourdain, but this isn't an Anthony Bourdain film. This is a chapter in the life of Anthony Bourdain, aka Tony, and it's perfect. It really is perfect. A lot of biopics try to capture an entire person's life or a 20-year stretch of their life, potentially even more, right? This isn't that. It captures a summer in a young adult's life that so happens to be Anthony Bourdain. And it's beautiful. And it pulls no punches, like I said. Tony, aka Anthony Bourdain in this film, when we first meet him, and honestly for the first half of this film, is a piece of shit. He just is. He's an asshole who's way too confident, a bullshit artist, a liar, and he's a smug prick. But this film makes you relate to him over time. It makes you love him. It earns your love for this person, this character. It's a real character. It's a relatable one. He's not a perfect human being. And we get to see Tony become Anthony Bourdain. We get to see Tony find his passions for life. We get to see Tony change for the better and not go down a different path that would completely wreck him in that moment. We see him change for the better. This movie works to make you like him in an authentic way, in a relatable way, and that's so different than any other biopic. It's simple. Michael Jackson. Everyone going to see Michael loves Michael Jackson. They know the majority of his story, and it's going to be hard for you to portray him without pulling punches. That movie just makes him come off as a perfect person who's not relatable, but it's Michael Jackson. It doesn't feel like a real person. Tony feels like a real person. And a lot of this is not, I guess, true to real life because we don't know much about Anthony Bourdain's life in that moment of his life. But, man, it does feel like a real part of his life that built Anthony Bourdain into the person that we all knew, watching him through his series on HBO or reading the book that he wrote. He's a bigger-than-life human being, yet this film grounds him into making him entirely relatable and someone you want to root for, someone that you want to change for the better. And I thought that was quite brilliant, and it's really a breath of fresh air when you compare it to other biopics. It's one of the best stories you'll ever see in a biopic because it takes place during one moment in his life that changed him and morphed him into the man that we all knew reading his books or watching his series. Man, a biopic with a character arc. Just think about that. Someone that feels real. You don't get that in biopics. You go watch that Bruce Springsteen biopic. That doesn't feel like a real person. Even though there's themes being touched upon in that film, that feels more like a therapy ad. And the performance by Jeremy Allen White is a nothing performance. You can say that about almost any other biopic or musical biopic. Biopics are stale and often feel non-unique and non-substantive. Tony is completely different, and that's thanks to everyone who collabed on this project, from the actors who gave brilliant performances in this film, or Matt Johnson, who is honestly a revolutionary filmmaker at this point for me. He is a special filmmaker that is super savvy and super polished and knows how to tell a story and knows how to make an engaging film, and he knows how to bring great performances out of the actors that he puts into his films. First and foremost, The Odyssey this year has a brilliant cast, stacked from top to bottom. This film, Tony, has my favorite ensemble cast throughout the entirety of 2026. The cast for this film is filled with not only the realness that you would want to feel from the characters that are portrayed in this film, but the performances are just so good, man. Just so fucking good. Everyone here is super unique and super distinct, and honestly, everyone in this movie feels like someone you met in real life, or whether you liked them or whether you hated them. That's what this movie feels like a lot of the time, and it's great character stuff in this film. You feel like you know everyone that you come across in this film. Even like the pizza guy who was fucking the girl that Anthony Bourdain wants to fuck. Like even those characters you feel like you know. Even the characters that don't talk enough or don't talk a lot, you feel like you know them too. It's great stuff. This is an Anthony Bourdain biopic, but it works on its own. If this wasn't about Anthony Bourdain, if this wasn't about Tony, this would just be a great coming of age story. Instead, it's an Anthony Bourdain biopic that excels as a coming of age story, and it excels at capturing a bigger than life human being's portion or chapter of their life. Can't overstate that enough. In case you didn't know what part of Anthony Bourdain's life this film covers, it covers a summer in his life. Anthony Bourdain isn't a freshman in college or a sophomore. He doesn't have his own car, and he's a bullshit artist. We see that in multiple ways. He thinks he's always outsmarting someone. He thinks he knows it all, when in reality he's just a young adult, a kid who's trying to find his way on this treacherous path of life. And he's making up this whole thing in a bar to a girl that he's really fond of, who he went to high school with. He's like, oh, I'm about to get this fellowship. I'm a writer. He's using all these big words, proving to people that he knows what those words means, or he thinks he knows what they mean. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. And he thinks he's going to bullshit his way into a fellowship where he gets paid to write some bullshit. He's this wannabe writer who also doesn't really want to be a writer. He's just telling himself that just to keep him going. It's really great stuff. Ultimately in the bar, when he's telling Nancy about this fellowship he's about to get, or he already got, he finds out that she's going to Provincetown. And he doesn't think he's going to see her again for the rest of the summer. He thinks that is it, until he gets a call that he didn't get the fellowship, that he didn't bullshit his way into this. So what does he do? Instead of spending the summer at home and doing nothing, getting proof that he lied about the situation not only to Nancy but to his family, he takes some money out of his dad's wallet or mom's wallet and goes to Provincetown. Ultimately, this movie is about Anthony Bourdain being so much in love with this woman, this young girl, that he goes and follows her to Cape Cod, to Provincetown, on his own, on a bus. That's ultimately what this movie is centered upon. That's the big core of this movie, until a bigger core emerges, which is he goes to Provincetown and he sees that she actually has a boyfriend, and now he's just in this Provincetown. He's getting drunk in a bar, he gets kicked out of this bar, his wallet gets stolen, but then he comes across what will soon to be family that pertains of Stavros Alkias, Tony Banderas, and Leo Woodall, which that's what this movie is about. It's about Anthony Bourdain going to Provincetown for the summer, and he goes there for one reason, but really he leaves there with a newfound passion for life and a completely different human being, and it transforms him into the Anthony Bourdain that we all know and love. That's what this film is about, and it's brilliant. Capturing a moment in a human being's life. It's great. I didn't want a highlight reel for Anthony Bourdain biopic, and that's kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting like a 20-year portion of Anthony Bourdain's life into a 2-hour movie. That's not what we get. We get a summer, a few months of his life, and it's brilliantly done. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels shoehorned in. It's great stuff. We start this film with Tony not liking the name Anthony, and then we see Tony transforming into Anthony, who ultimately transforms into the person that we all know and love, Anthony Bourdain. But man, it's hard for me to like pinpoint with this movie here, but I'm going to try to stay cohesive and coherent in this video. Man, the best needle drops all year. And Jay McCarroll, one of the stars in the Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, alongside Matt Johnson, composes a brilliant soundtrack and a brilliant score for this film. The soundtrack and score for this film amplify the entire movie. It's the engine on a locomotive train. It's brilliant stuff. And on second watch, the soundtrack just completely does it for you. It did it for me. One of the best parts of this film, incredible composition by Jay McCarroll, who is a great partner alongside Matt Johnson, seemingly, whether it's acting or whether it's just helping Matt Johnson have a great soundtrack / score for his film. Unbelievable soundtrack and score by Jay McCarroll. Screenplay is brilliant. Like I said, one of the best screenplays I've ever seen for a biopic, at least in the past 10 plus years. It's endlessly quotable and amazingly substantive. It's a coming of age story. It's a building Robin. which is a great joke in this film. But it never feels like a caricature. It never feels like a highlight reel, and that's completely different when you compare it to other biopics. This screenplay is refreshing, especially for the subgenre it coincides in. I found it to be amazing. The filmmaking on display by Matt Johnson, the montages, the shot composition, it's great stuff. He makes this film feel so lived in. A lot of that's due to the great writing, but a lot of that's due to the great filmmaking of Matt Johnson. His filmmaking feels so polished and so poignant and just so fleshed out. You just have to really give him a standing ovation. And I would, but I think you guys would die of cringe for whoever's watching this video. The montages in this film are so awesome. Specifically the montage where Tony first starts working in the kitchen. A whole bunch of chaos is in store for you here in this montage. We get to learn more about the characters in this staff. We get to see Tony struggle. We get to see Tony have fun. We get to see Tony learn the ways of the kitchen in a toxic way, in a really non-working atmosphere way, which is brilliant. The environment he is in is so crazy, but ultimately it leads to a successful kitchen. It's great. I love the camaraderie that was shown between every single staff member in that kitchen. The kitchen stuff is brilliant, and the montage that happens in the kitchen when Tony starts working in it is amazing. It's so good. We don't even get to see Anthony Bourdain, aka Tony in this film, make food until about an hour in. This film just does biopics in a completely different way. It's extraordinary to really watch. Dominic Sessa as Anthony Bourdain, aka Tony, is a renaissance, really. I love Dominic Sessa in The Holdovers. His first performance as an actor in a feature-length film, and it's an extraordinary one. He combats two brilliant actors in that film, and he holds his own. But he takes a leap here. He is now the leading man of this film, and at first, you're kind of unsure of his performance, but then you genuinely get to see him morph into Anthony Bourdain. Both in the character sense in this film, but both in the sense of his presence as an actor, as he's trying to convey who Anthony Bourdain was, who Anthony Bourdain is. And Dominic Sessa does a brilliant job in here. There are 3 performances in this movie that are amongst my favorite of the year. It's simple, but obviously we're talking about Dominic Sessa as Anthony Bourdain here. We get to see Anthony Bourdain, aka Dominic Sessa, go through the ups and downs, which is obviously not consistent with a lot of other biopics because they try to paint the person they're portraying as perfect. That's not the case here. Dominic Sessa does a brilliant job of being a dickhead, being a lost pup, being a lost young adult who's bullshitting his way through life while being passionless. It's great stuff. He's also extremely witty. He's filled with charm. He's likable even when he's unlikable. Dominic Sessa has a terrific cinematic presence to him, and the style that he has in this movie, which is obviously thanks to the costume department. But man, he just completely embodies Anthony Bourdain. And as this film keeps on going, the stronger Dominic Sessa gets. The stronger and more magnetic his cinematic presence gets. Dominic Sessa is truly one of the great young actors in the world of film right now, who is making some really great and interesting early career choices. The Holdovers and Tony. I know he did Now You See Me 3 or whatever the fuck it is. Didn't see that, but man, The Holdovers and now Tony, just 2 unreal performances. It's really a breath of fresh air. There are so many scenes from Dominic Sessa in this film that really make me laugh, and the emotional parts of this film he just fully pulls off. There's a moment in this film where he's on a beach and he's talking to Antonio Banderas' character, who's his mentor in one way or another in this film, and it's spellbinding stuff emotionally. You really can't believe it, how great he is. I was eager to see him perform in this film, and he blew my socks off. He plays a very conflicting person. He isn't exactly some great guy. Even towards the end of this film, he's still trying to figure it out like any young adult is. It's like a character you want to see in a coming-of-age film. A complex one. He has a great screenplay to work off of, but he makes this film what it is. The charisma he has, the naivety, he has the asshole in him, and he has the heart. It's a great performance. Can't wait to see how he blossoms. In my opinion, if not an Oscar in his future, then he will just be known as an incredibly loved and reliable actor. His moments with Leo Whitall in this movie, his moments with Antonio Banderas, he has chemistry with literally everyone in this film. He has chemistry, like I said, with Antonio Banderas. He has great chemistry with Leo Whitall. He has great chemistry with Stavros Alkias. And he specifically has great chemistry with Nancy, who a lot of times in this film, they don't have chemistry, but when they have like on-screen chemistry, where there's intimate moments, where there's flirtatious remarks shared between the two, they have tremendous chemistry. This is a complex role for Dominic Sessa, and honestly, it's a performance that is asked a lot of, and he just delivers. Fascinating young actor who is super unique, and I can't get enough of Dominic Sessa at the moment. One of my favorite young actors in the world from right now. Magnetic, engaging, and he brings what you want to the table. Fantastic. But now the supporting cast, because they play a huge role in this film. Ciro, aka Antonio Banderas, just one of my favorite performances from Antonio Banderas. He is a warm ball of energy, and he's the mentor we probably all wanted, if not needed, in our lives. You can see how this man transformed Anthony Bourdain into Anthony Bourdain. He pulls off that chef that really changed and formed Bourdain's life. Can't ask for more from Antonio Banderas here. He makes you care. Antonio Banderas, it's going to be a really tough year. He should probably get an Oscar nomination for this film. That's how strong his performance is for this film. I love him and Sessa in this film together. You want to be in this kitchen with them. You just do. Amongst all the chaos, amongst all the toxicity, amongst all the unlike work behavior in this kitchen, you want to be in this kitchen with Ciro. Because at the end of the night, you're eating this seafood stew that looks delicious and gross at the same time. From him dumping water on Anthony Bourdain every morning, to his big argument with Anthony Bourdain on the beachfront, to the huge fishing event that happens in this film, to the fight that happens in the kitchen between him and Sal is awesome. His banter with his cooks in the kitchen is awesome. It is great stuff. You want to live in this town. You want to live in Provincetown for the summer, especially with this group, and you definitely want to be friends with Ciro. If not, you want Ciro to be your mentor and coax you through life. Antonio Banderas, one of the highs of his career, and he is amazingly displayed in this film as an actor. What a performance by him. A huge warm ball of energy that you just love every time he is on screen. Now, I loved Robert Pattinson in The Odyssey. One of my favorite supporting actor performances this year. The best, in my opinion. This performance I'm about to talk about right here is easily one of my favorite performances of the year. Doesn't matter the category. And honestly, I heard a lot about this dude in the film Tuner, which I haven't seen yet. Now, his performance in this film really wants to make me see Tuner. The person I'm talking about is Leo Whitall, who plays Sal. What the actual fuck? An amazing cast, right? Amazing supporting cast. There's so many memorable performances in this film. His is arguably the most memorable alongside Antonio Banderas and obviously Dominic Sessa. This film has really great character actors, and I think we just found one of the best up-and-coming character actors, or just plainly one of the most interesting young actors in the world of film with Leo Whitall. Now, I know he's done quite a few films, but this one right here, this performance he has, is just completely scene-stealing and completely magnetic. My goodness. What a takeover from him here. He is so cool until he's not. He is such a fun person to be with in this movie until he's not. He is a toxic, yet funny, yet polarizing human being that you can see why Anthony Bourdain wanted to be his friend so bad. But also, you are thankful that Anthony Bourdain finally got his senses and was like, hey, I can't keep on going down this path with this junkie, with this lunatic who can't control his anger. He is someone that Tony doesn't need in his life at all. In fact, it is ruining Tony's life and changing him into a worse person. The path he's taking Tony down, and the conflict that has in this film is great. Both when we first get Tony in the town, and then at the end, when Tony lets down Ciro, spoiler, burns down Ciro's restaurant, he goes back to Sal, who was fired from the restaurant for being late and punching Ciro. And he starts to go down that path with Sal again, but he doesn't. Leo Woodall is truly infectious here. He has a really great cinematic presence. He is funny, like I said, cool until he isn't, scary, and just straight up a dickhead in this film. I knew someone like this. I'm sure a lot of people knew or know someone just like this guy. Steer clear of this guy because he is great to be around until he isn't. He is the type of guy that will help you search for your wallet when he has it in his back pocket. Leo Woodall truly gives one of my favorite supporting performances of the year, and honestly just straight up one of my favorite performances of the year. Magnetic, engaging, and a huge scene stealer here. It was great watching him and Antonio Banderas interact. It was great watching him and Stavros Halkias interact. It was just great to have him in this film. Him and Dominic Sessa have great chemistry together. The montages they have together are awesome until it isn't. But man, what a performance from Leo Woodall. Tremendous performance. And then the last performance I really want to talk about, or the last two, Stavros Halkias. He is so funny, obviously, when he had the Come Town podcast. He's really funny entire season 3 and 2. And here, he is just continuously improving. I liked him in Begonia as well. He is so good here. It doesn't feel like Stavros Halkias. It feels like an actual person that would have been in a kitchen when this film takes place. I love Stavros Halkias in this film. A ball of funny. He is great here. Him riffing with Leo Woodall, him riffing with Dominic Sessa, him just cooking with the lop. It's just, he adds a lot to this film. And he's one of the best comedic aspects of this film. And then obviously, I want to talk about Emilia Jones as Nancy. She is the reason why Bourdain is in Provincetown, and you can see why. The minute she is on screen in this film, she is just absolutely polarizing. She is beautiful. She is hypnotizing. She captures your attention in this film and never loses it. Kind of similar to how Anthony Bourdain feels about her. God, she is great in this film. She is just sexiness personified in this film. I loved her in this film. I loved her chemistry with Dominic Sessa as well. The cast for this film is really sublime, and it's my favorite ensemble cast of the year, at least so far. The Invite has a great cast, The Odyssey has a great cast, but this is my favorite cast this year. It is truly a cast that propels a great filmmaker and propels a great screenplay to a height that is rare, especially in the subgenre this film coincides in, which is biopics. It's a brilliantly sublime and emotional coming-of-age film that just works through and through. Brilliant performances, amazing storytelling, and amazing filmmaking. It's an absolutely engaging film that makes you laugh and cry. This film can stand alone on its own without being a biopic, which is remarkably what makes it a great biopic and a standout amongst other films like it. Every other biopic should hold their heads down in shame because they can't make biopics as fun and as refreshing as Matt Johnson did with this one. Man, Sessa and Bourdain get better as this film keeps going. The cast is terrific. I love this film. Matt Johnson officially puts the cinematic world on notice. If he didn't with Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, he definitely does here. I prefer Tony over that film, but I love them both. Both of those films are in my top 10 so far this year. What a film this was. Matt Johnson and Dominic Sessa, two of the most exciting figures in the world of film. Obviously, Tony is a 5 out of 5 for me. This is easily amongst my core favorite films of the year. It's easily the best biopic since Oppenheimer, and it's the second best biopic in the past 10 plus years alongside Oppenheimer. That's how much I love this film. And honestly, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud and potentially the recency bias part out loud here. I think The Odyssey is the best film so far this year. And I've seen Obsession more times than this film right here. But to be honest with you guys, I'd rather go see Tony for the third time again than The Odyssey for the fourth time. Don't know how much that says about where I rank my top 4 so far this year, but Tony is that fucking good. It's revolutionary. When you look at other biopics, this film is something special. 5 out of 5, a 98 out of 100. One of my core favorite films of the year. Let's get into the second film I saw this weekend, which was great. However, I have a lot to say about this film because I don't think it's a 5 out of 5. I don't even think it's a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's a 4 out of 5, which is still a great score, an 8 out of 10, 82, 84 out of 100. Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. What a fascinating film. So, a couple things I want to say about this film. This is a hard film to explain to anybody. Now, the premise of this film is easy to explain to someone, but if they asked me anything further about this film, I would have a hard time explaining it. I honestly mean that as a criticism and a compliment. This is a weird film. It's an engaging one, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I pride myself on media literacy. I pay attention to a film through and through. I don't go on my phone. I want to know what a film means. And honestly, sometimes you don't get that with the first watch. I understand a good portion of this film, but also I don't understand a good portion of this film. Now, I understand a lot of the themes of this film. They consist of obviously finding yourself, finding your sexual identity, and having your sexual awakening. That's what some of the themes of this film are to me. That's why I interpreted. But something didn't click 100% for me with this film. And I kind of had the same problem with Jane Schoenbrun's previous film that I saw, which was Let the TV Glow. I admired that film quite a bit. I did. Visually, it's great, and it's this really interesting story that isn't told a lot in cinemas, in my opinion. That film just didn't fully land the plane for me. This film feels like a dream, and it has a lot of inspirations behind it, and has a lot of homages paid. Clearly, this film is inspired by quite a few different films. Sunset on Boulevard is one of them, which is one of my favorite Billy Wilder films. Honestly, just one of my favorite films of all time. It's inspired by Friday the 13th, The Sleepaway Camp. It's inspired by a whole bunch of different films, and that is evident. It's even inspired by, in my opinion, like Mulholland Drive or even Videodrome. And it also has a lot of interesting flares to it. It's a pretty well seasoned and polished like LGBTQ comedy. It's an interesting installment into queer filmmaking, which honestly Jane Schoenbrun is the pioneer of at this point. Well, obviously not the pioneer, but she's a big figure in it. The two films that she made are just not what you get a lot in cinema, and it's interesting. It's a story that needs to be told in some ways. I really just wish the plane was landed smoothly here. And I really love how Jane Schoenbrun just combines modern filmmaking and classic filmmaking here. They really get it. Like, for instance, the modern filmmaking is evident in this film. You don't even really have to expand upon it. They do a lot of things in the film that utilize modern filmmaking. But the classic filmmaking here that is utilized is awesome. Specifically, the thing I love the most about this film is visually. And a lot of visual stuff in this film have to do with painted backgrounds. The mountains, the landscapes, the rain, the snow that is shown in a lot of the backgrounds of the shots in this film are painted. And I love the look of that. Visually, this film is arguably a masterpiece. I mean, that's just what it is. Visually, this film is insane. And clearly, Jane Schoenbrun just excels visually. They are a visual master. That is evident at this point through the two films I've seen from them so far. That's just how I feel. I mean, visually this film excels just like Let the TV Glow. Even more so in my opinion. It's an unbelievable film visually. Like, I just can't overstate that. The mixture and the blend of modern filmmaking and classical filmmaking is just perfect. They get what film should look like. They really make the surrealist aspect of this film and the dreamlike aspect of this film come to life with the combination of modern and classical filmmaking. They do a terrific job here. I just wish their storytelling from a screenwriting perspective was just as polished as the visual stuff that they have and that they portray as a filmmaker. Because visually, it's 10 out of 10 stuff. It's amazing stuff. But storytelling-wise, screenplay-wise, there are a lot of incoherent points of this movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have to fully understand a film on first watch to love it. Listen, if you watch Mulholland Drive or 2001 Space Odyssey the first time, 9 times out of 10 you don't understand what the film was trying to say on first watch. You understand inklings of that film, but more likely than not, you'll still love it. And you want to revisit it more. I kind of feel the same way about Can't Miss Miasma. Now, not to the great extent of Mulholland Drive and 2001 Space Odyssey. Those are different levels, but this is a film that I don't entirely understand. I vibed with it hard, I loved it, but I don't entirely understand it, and now it really makes me want to rewatch it, because maybe I'll find what this film was fully trying to go for on second watch. I really just wish Jane Schoenbrun's films were more coherent and more cohesive on first watch, which is a criticism, but it's honestly an interesting one because even though their films aren't coherent to me or as cohesive on first watch, I want to revisit them. I just wish the dialogue here was more meaningful, because at times the dialogue is meaningful and purposeful, but a lot of other times it feels useless and just added in because it's fun, which is fine. I like a filmmaker having fun, but I also like a coherent story through and through. I can't have some parts be coherent and the other parts be incoherent just for the sake of being incoherent, or you know what I mean? I hope I'm explaining that further, but obviously, Jane Schoenbrunn, terrific filmmaker, one of the most exciting young filmmakers in the world of film right now. They are constantly making refreshing films. I just wish the storytelling was more focused and more coherent. I wish the storytelling was on par with the visual stuff. Jane Schoenbrunn, they are just clearly a filmmaker that prefers style over substance, which is fine. I really admire their creative artistry and the creative decisions that they take. I really just wish the film, storytelling wise, were smoother. Don't get me wrong, it's really interesting storytelling, but I wish it was smoother. I hope I'm making more sense there. I think the storytelling here is done way better than it is in Let the TV Glow. Even though I think Let the TV Glow is touching on something slightly more important, but I think the storytelling here is more coherent than Let the TV Glow. With that being said, I also think there's stuff thrown in this film that that just is thrown in for the sake of it, whether it's to pay homage or whether it's just to have fun. So yeah, I really wish this film was expanded upon more. I just do. And that's all I have to say. A unique filmmaker Jane Schoenbrunn is. I just think they really have to polish up on some things. I really just wish the storytelling stuff was on par with the storytelling. I like the vibe of this film. I want to talk about the performances before I wrap up my review on Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. I'm pretty shocked by how great the performances are in this film. And shocked is not a word I'm using in arrogance, because I'm very familiar with Gillian Anderson, and I'm loosely familiar with Hannah Einbinder. I'm familiar with her. I just haven't seen her act in entirety. I've seen her through interviews, I've seen her through clips on Instagram. She is a very personable person. And she's really awesome. She's funny. She seems like someone you want to hang out with, and obviously she's very beautiful, but the performance she gives here is unbelievable. Not only that, the chemistry that she shares with Gillian Anderson is remarkable. And honestly, the performances that they share together in this film are one of the major things that work alongside this film. The two best things about this film are Hannah Einbinder's performance and Gillian Anderson, and then the visual stuff that this film has. Those are the strongest things about this film, easily. The unbelievable chemistry that Gillian Anderson share and Hannah Einbinder share is just palpable. It propels and elevates the film. Listen, I really liked revisiting the fictional film in this movie, Camp Miasma. There is a long portion of this film that is just focusing on that film, and we get to see that film through the lenses of Hannah Einbinder and Gillian Anderson's character, which at fun it's really interesting, because honestly the film that Jane Schoenbrunn makes for this film is really good and interesting, and the people in that portion of the movie are very interesting to look at and watch as performers. But I wish we got more of Hannah Einbinder and Gillian Anderson in this film. Listen, we get a lot of them in this film, but I feel like too much time was taken away from them when they were in the cinema and they were watching the first Camp Miasma. I didn't want to be taken away from them. That's how palpable they were together on screen. Unbelievable chemistry, and they're both so goddamn magnetic and sexy here. It's unreal. Now listen, Hannah Einbinder was spellbinding for me here, both comedically, both emotionally. She gives a very strong performance. There are certain scenes from her in this film that really sent me for a loop, but obviously I have to state it, she is magnificently sexy in this film. I mean, wow. Unbelievable. She is amazing in this film. Salute to Hannah Einbinder in this film, but also salute to Gillian Anderson, because she is magnetic, she is engaging, and she gives a really great late career performance here. Her character is clearly inspired by Norma Desmond, who was in Sunset Boulevard. I think she does a great job portraying a character that is similar to Norma Desmond. I loved both Gillian Anderson and Hannah Einbinder in this film. Another performance I want to talk about in this film that was a magnetic one, We didn't get a large dosage of this performance, but I really loved Amanda Fix in this film. She plays a young Billy. Um, Billy is Gillian Anderson's character, and Gillian Anderson's character was in the first Can't Miss Miasma, but she wasn't in any of the other ones, and she fell off the face of this planet. But we get to learn more about her backstory in the first Can't Miss Miasma film. Amanda Fix has a perfectly 1970s, 1980s face. She is beautiful, and she gives third best performance in this film. Now, there's a lot of different performances in this film that I liked. Ava Victor as DJ Ella Giastic, and then we have Zach Cherry as Will. Cher Sherman is funny in this movie. Dylan Baker as Jeffrey. There's some really funny performances in this film, but Amanda Fix is polarizing this film in the brief time she is in it. Really great person to look at, and honestly, she gives a really good performance. First and foremost, the comedic stuff in this film is great. Satirical stuff in this film is great as well. But my favorite scene in this film is when Hannah Einbinder's character, aka Chris, who is this young filmmaker who is set to reboot Can't Miss Miasma. The execs in this film want her to do like a full reboot, have a queer aspect to this film, and they want it to be like a new, young, fresh cast. Basically, they want it to be like a legacy sequel, right? But they don't want Gillian Anderson in it as a major role. And Hannah Einbinder, after spending a couple days with Gillian Anderson's character, wants her to be a major role in the film. And after a couple days spent, she gets on the Zoom call that features of Jeffrey, aka Dylan Baker, and a couple other people that are just so funny. There's a character in that scene that is just named Queer Assistant. That scene right there is maybe my favorite scene in this film. Hannah Einbinder trying to explain what she wants that film to be now and who she wants to star in it, and it's just really, really great stuff. I could not stop laughing watching that scene. I think I said all I wanted to say about teenage sex and death at Can't Miss Miasma. It's a polarizing film that is thought-provoking, and I vibe with it 100%. Jane Schoenbrunn, as a filmmaker, visually strives here. They really just dominate the visual medium that is film here. I love the performances. Every time Gillian Anderson and Hannah Einbinder were on screen together, it was palpable. It really was tremendous watching these two on screen together. I loved watching these two mesh. I had a great time with this film from start to finish. It's incredibly engaging. You don't know what turns this film is going to take, but you are enthralled by each and every step this film takes. It's a really fun ride. It's a 112-minute film that feels less than that. I really, really love the romantic chemistry. I love the tension. And like I said, visually this film is great. I just wish this film excelled more in terms of it being coherent. I just really do. I wish the screenplay was more polished. I wish some things were taken out of this film. I think there was far too many things in this film that I deemed as useless. As funny as the KFC scene in this film is, I just wasn't a fan of the dipping sauce scene or the fried chicken scene. I just don't think it needed to be in it. Like, I vibed with this film 100%. It just wasn't 100% coherent, which I wanted it to be. I want it to be. The films that I truly, really, really love, I want it to be 100% coherent. Now, hopefully it's 100% coherent on second watch, which honestly, by the end of this weekend, I'm going to see this film for a second time. But some of this film's decisions felt wasted, and I hate to use this word, but useless. Like I said, did we really need that fried chicken scene? I don't think so. Not really, if I had to really answer that. What was going on with all the candy? I have no idea. But even with the flaws that I have with this film, even with the criticism I have for this film, I want to see it again. I just really do. I didn't fully understand this film, and I pride myself on media literacy. I think I have pretty good media literacy, but I fucking vibe with this. And honestly, it's a standout this year for me personally. Like I said, I really love the performances. Visually, it's stunning. And the humor and satire was great. Jane Schoenbrunn continues to show why they are one of the most unique and interesting filmmakers that we have. They are a filmmaker that I honestly can't exactly put my finger on what they're going to do next. And I just can't wait for their next film. I think they are truly one of the most fascinating filmmakers in the world from right now. And I love a filmmaker that goes in directions that you aren't certain they're going to go in. I really enjoy Jane Schoenbrunn, the filmmaker. And honestly, I can't wait to see their next film, and I can't wait to see teenage sex and death at Can't Miss Miasma again. Even with me not fully understanding it, I vibe with this film heavy. Hey man, I had a great time at cinemas this weekend. So overall, can't miss Miasma. 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5, 82 to 84 out of 100. I had a great weekend of watching new releases. Tony is a 5 out of 5 for me, easily on rewatch. And then Can't Miss Miasma. I liked it way more than Let the TV Glow. It's a fascinating film that I didn't fully understand, but I understand why I needed to understand on first watch. I can't wait to see it again. Jane Schoenbrunn, they're one of the most interesting filmmakers in the world of film. We got two great new releases from two of the most interesting and great filmmakers in the world of film right now. Great, great, great weekend of new releases. Go see Can't Miss Miasma and go see Tony. You will not regret it. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for making it this far. I appreciate everyone who's watching this channel. I get so angry when my videos don't do well, but honestly, I need to step up my game. I need to find out a way to edit my videos better. I need to be better. But last weekend I released my review. I was pissed that no one watched it. The end of Oak Street 5 views, I'm like, man, I'm not going to keep doing this. But I love doing this too much. When you have 87 subscribers, when you only have 5 to 10 views on each video, you got to keep pushing, because eventually, if you keep pushing, you keep being consistent, you're going to have hopefully 1 million subscribers one day. Hopefully even just 10,000 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, even 500 I'll settle for, because I love doing this stuff. But yeah, if you made it this far, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe right here, right now, Matt Talks Films. You might as well if you made it this far. And follow me everywhere on Matt Talks Films, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for more short-form content like this. Now, before I go, Insidious 6 was awful. Just awful. I had to reiterate that again. But next weekend, what are we getting in cinemas? Because I'm curious the video I'm going to do. So next weekend, well, honestly, before we get into next weekend, next weekend. So next weekend is Coyote vs. Acme, which I think I'm going to see on Sunday because there's going to be an early screening for it. We also get the newest Ridley Scott film, The Dog Stars. Josh Brolin, Margaret Qualley, Benedict Wong, Guy Pearce, Jacob Elordi. Hell yeah, let's do it. And then we also get Terminator 2, Judgment Day. We also get Buddy, which is like a Barney horror film. Hey, you'll see me next week. So it's probably going to be Coyote vs. Acme review. We're probably going to get the dogs. We're definitely going to get the Dog Stars review from me. We're probably going to get a revisit of Terminator 2 since I'm going to see that in theaters. And then maybe I could do a quick review about Buddy, which is starring Michael Shannon and Topher Grace. I'm in. Let's do it. I'm here for the long run, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. If you made it this far, like I said, thank you so much. Leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And guess what? I'll see you on the flip side.